All right, so, speaking of childhoods, everybody's got mom, right? All right, so my mom is crazy if you ever meet her. Jen Williams, I love you. Shout out, Mom. You're crazy. She, yeah, the camera. She is a warrior, and I love her for it. She's always worried about her little babies. If she could wrap us in bubble wrap, me, Tessa, and Talon, she probably would. Whenever, and I'm sure you guys can relate, whenever you guys go out, okay, at night, and say it's late, and you're coming home, one of your parents, either your mom or your dad, is always up, right? They're always staying up waiting for you. See, I've come home, I'll go get needled, which needling, if you guys haven't gone, fire, life-changing. I'll go get needled, and I'll come home, and it'll be like 11:30 at night. And I'll get home, and as I'm driving back to my house, I can see through the back of my house, there's one lamp on that my mom leaves on because she sits in the living room waiting for me to get home. No matter how late, it could be 1 a.m, and she will still wait for me to get home. And that lamp will be on every time. And what's crazy is, in a lot of ways, God is the same way. God's leaving that light on. You see, I feel like a lot of us, we feel like that whenever we do something wrong, whenever we mess up, we feel like it's over, we're done. Like that was our shot and we blew it. God doesn't want us anymore. And there's also on the other side of that, I've had multiple conversations with people who don't know the Lord, and they think, well, I've messed up too many times. There's no hope for me. I'm done. Like I'm never getting into heaven. And that's so sad, and it's what a lot of people think. But at the end of the day, God's sitting there. He's got that light on. He's waiting for you to come back to him. Now, the story that I'm going to share is a very popular story in the Bible. Can anybody guess what I'm going to talk about?
David and Goliath.
That would have nothing to do with...
Lions did.
No.
Moses.
Nope.
Abraham.
And listen, if you keep shooting, you're bound to make one. What'd you say?
The guy with the sons.
Prodigal son, yeah. Attaboy. Shout out Parker. Tessa, as a pastor's kid, Tessa, I'm disappointed. All right.
She named like 5.
I know. All right, so for those of you who have your Bibles or the Bible app, we are going to be reading Luke chapter 15, verses 11 through 32. And it is the parable of the lost son. And it picks up in 11, and it says, to illustrate the point further, Jesus told them this story. A man had 2 sons. The younger son told his father, I want my share of your estate now before you die. So his father agreed to divide his wealth between his sons. A few days later, this younger son packed all of his belongings and moved to a distant land. And there he wasted all his money in wild living. About the time his money ran out, a great famine swept over the land, and he began to starve. He persuaded a local farmer to hire him, and the man sent him into his fields to feed the pigs. The young man became so hungry that even the pod he was feeding the pigs looked good to him, but no one gave him anything. So I'm going to stop there for a second. Who knows what pig slop is? Okay. Pig slop is a bunch of old table scraps, like week-old table scraps that they like mixed together with like water, hot water, and it's like all mushy and all sorts of stuff, and they just put it in a big bucket and then they dump it out because pigs will eat anything. And he was so hungry that looked appetizing to him. I don't even like Brussels sprouts. I would gag. Just thinking about it makes me gag. But that looked like a Big Mac to him. Love me a Big Mac. Shout out McDonald's. I'm so hungry right now. So pick up in 17, it says, when he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, at home, even the hired servants have food enough to spare, and here I am dying of hunger. I will go home to my father and say, Father, I have sinned against both heaven and you, and I am no longer worthy of being called your son. Please take me on as a hired servant. So he returned home to his father, and while he was still a long way off, his father saw him coming, filled with love and compassion. He ran to his son, embraced him, and kissed him. His son said to him, "Father, I have sinned against both heaven and you, and I am no longer worthy of being called your son." I've definitely have felt that before. I've definitely been in a spot where I've messed up and I've thought to myself that I don't deserve the love that I get. I've definitely have done things that I'm like, there's no coming back. Like I disappointed my family, I disappointed God, I disappointed my friends, people I love. And every time, I'm overwhelmed by the grace of God and by the grace of my parents and my friends, and a whole nother sermon that I'll probably preach on one day. But I'm lucky enough to have a good group of people that I surround myself with to where they love me for who I am, and they love me even though when I mess up, which is every day. I definitely think that everyone can relate to that. Everybody messes up. Everybody thinks that they aren't good enough. But that was the Holy Spirit. I definitely think that God made us for a reason. He made every one of us, and He designed us in a way that everyone is different, and He knows that we're going to mess up. He knows the amount of hairs on our head. He knows we're going to mess up. That's what makes Him great. We don't have to do anything to please Him. Like, just by us living, we make Him the happiest person in the entire world. And that's crazy to wrap my mind around, that no matter what I do, I will always make Him happy. Me personally, for the longest time, that's all I cared about, was trying to make everybody happy, trying to make other people proud. And it got to the point where I was chasing fame and chasing recognition and this and that, just so I can make my dad proud, just so I can make my mom proud, make my friends proud. And honestly, it sent me into a state of depression. It sent me to where I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to sit in my bed, lay around, because I was just pushing myself, telling myself that I'm never going to be good enough. I'm never going to be good enough for my dad. I'm never going to be good enough for God. I'm never going to be good enough for my mom. And it hurt. It felt like I had 300 pounds weighing on my chest at all times. And I remember one time I'm sitting there, I'm talking to Josh, my Uncle Josh, and I'm like, I feel like everything's on me. I feel like all the pressure in the world is on me. And I tell him all the time, I'm like, I feel like that I'm messing up, that I'm ruining all these expectations that everybody has for me, and that I'm not going to be able to meet these standards. And I'm sitting there, I'm crying, I'm bawling my eyes out. And I remember him saying to me, he was like, no, like what you do in life, like you'll never be able to accomplish something to where then, everybody's proud of you. He was like, your parents, the day you were born, your parents loved you unconditionally. He was like, from the beginning of time, God loved you unconditionally. He was like, you can't put yourself in the constant mindset that you're not good enough, that you'll never be good enough, because all that's going to do is send you to a state of depression. It picks up, and it said, but his father said to the servants, quick, bring the finest robe in the house and put it on him. Get a ring for his finger and sandals for his feet, and kill the calf we have been fattening. We must celebrate with a feast, for his son of mine was dead and has now returned to life. He was lost, but now he is found. So the party began. He rejoiced. His son messed up. His son literally was like, hey, I know you're saving all this money for when you die, and then that way you can bless us. But like at this point, I'm already considering you dead. Just give me the money. I want to go do my own thing. And he went out and partied. He spent all of his money, every last penny, to the point where he was starving and had nothing going for him. And as soon as he came back, it was like he had never done anything wrong. His father ran to him with open arms. God's running to us with open arms. You know, I feel like a lot of the time we find ourselves, we're sitting there in that depression. We're waiting on God. You know, we're like, where are you at, God? Why aren't you helping me through this? He's waiting on us. He's waiting on us to come to him. You know, there comes a point where we have to meet him halfway. We can't screw up and just say, oh, God, where were you in this? You have to admit when you're wrong. It took this son to admit that what he did was wrong. And that's a tough pill for some people to swallow. It's hard. I hate admitting when I'm wrong. I'm the son of Jason Williams. I hate admitting when I'm wrong. But you can't grow. You can't rebuild relationships without admitting that you're wrong. You messed up. And God's not going to bash you for being wrong. We're human. He made us that way. But he's ready. He's ready for you to run to him. And I feel like that's where we get it twisted, is because we think that he just has to come to us, but in reality, we need to go to him. It says, meanwhile, the older son was in the fields working. When he returned home, he heard music and dancing in the house. And he asked one of these servants what was going on. The servant said, your brother is back, he was told, and your father has killed the fattened calf. We are celebrating because of his safe return. The older brother was angry and wouldn't go in. His father came out and begged him, but he replied, all these years I've slaved for you and never once refused to do a single thing you told me to. In all that time you never gave me even one young goat for a feast with my friends. Yet when this son of yours comes back after squandering your money on prostitutes, you celebrate by killing the fattened calf. Listen, I understand where that other son is coming from. Like, that son did everything right. You know, he made the right decisions. He listened to his dad. And then all of a sudden, the son that messed up did all the wrong things. Oh, he's getting all the praise. Guys, I have a little brother. His name's Talon. He does some crazy things. He threw a knife at me. Blessed to be alive. He threw a knife at me, but doesn't get in trouble. And from my standpoint, I'm like, this is crazy. Like, where is the justice system in this? Like, this man needs to go to court, get charged for assault with a deadly weapon, and go to jail. But so I felt that on another level. But I feel like, and not just with your siblings, but in life, you know, I feel like as Christians, we're always like, man, we're doing everything right. But then you see the person that's not a Christian, that's not following Jesus. And why is he getting all the praise? Why is she getting all the fame? And I had to have a real moment with me and God. And like I said, I was chasing that fame. I was chasing the title. You know, for the longest time, all I cared about in life was being the starting running back. That's all I cared about. I pushed everything away. All I cared about was, on Friday nights, am I going to be the starter? And it literally got to the point where I was crying every night. And when all that I was chasing was that, I wasn't getting it. When I turned to God, when I said, God, you know, whatever happens, I'm going to praise you. If I never play on a Friday night, I'm going to praise you. If I never play in college, I'm going to praise you. It's your will. Have it your way. Things started turning around. Things started turning for the better. And while I was working on that, while I was telling God, hey, it's your way, I was asking him, why is it everybody else? I've obeyed. I've done everything you've told me to do. I have a Bible study. I did this. I do that. I go to church. I help. And what I realized is what happens on this earth does not really matter in the grand scheme of things. What praise you get from being a varsity football player, from being a varsity baseball player, varsity basketball, whatever it is that you're seeking, if an Instagram influencer, TikTok influencer, whatever it is that you're trying to chase, that does not matter when you get up to the pearly gates. And guess what? He's not going to be like, oh, I see. Okay, Hayden, baseball player, pitcher, nice. Nice truck, okay. He's like, all right, hey, you go in. No, he's going to be like, all right, Hayden, let's see. You were a role model on your team. You led people to the Lord. You were on the varsity team for church. You have done well. And then you go. He doesn't care about the accolades. Okay, he cares about how many people you're going to reach. How you're going to spread his name. Yeah. So you look at the people who got everything going for them all of a sudden. And you're like, well, that's not fair. Guys, there's a greater ending for us. Okay? Like this is our life on earth. And then from here to Casey's is everything. I mean, even further, it's forever. It's eternity. You can't wrap your mind around it. So, I would rather look at everything over there than be stuck on this right here, because this is going to be gone in an instant. This could be gone tomorrow, for all we know. And it's a big thing that I want you guys to take from is don't try and chase everything like now. Look to the future. Look what happens beyond this life, because that's what's more important. His father said to him, look, dear son, you have always stayed by me, and everything I have is yours. We had to celebrate this happy day, for your brother was dead, and he has come back to life. He was lost, but now he is found. He was lost, but now he is found. I have definitely messed up in my life. Whether it's things I should not have done, things I should not have said, things I should not have seen, whatever it is, I've messed up very badly. No matter how many times I mess up, he still loves me. No matter how many times you mess up, he still loves you. How many times you mess up, he still loves you. You mess up, he still loves you. Guys, when you're talking to people, when you're talking to them about the Lord, and they say, it's too late for me. I've done too much, I've messed up. You've got to tell them that John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son, so that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. He knew we weren't perfect. He knew we were going to mess up. He made us that way. Free will. That's why he sent his son down here to live a life, to live the perfect life, but then die a sinner's death. He sacrificed his son because he knew that every single one of us were going to mess up. But he wanted to give us the opportunity to find him, seek him, and then one day go live in heaven with him. So the next time you're talking to somebody and they're saying, man, it's over for me, I'm done. Like, I'm going to hell. You look at them and you tell them to read John 3:16. You tell them that as soon as they make that decision, that Jesus is going to be running to him with open arms, or to her with open arms. And that they were once lost. They were once that one sheep that was gone. And now they're getting reunited with the 99.